Chapter 10, Mishnah 2. According to biblical law, a woman who becomes a Niddah remains Tameh for at least 7 days. On the seventh day, she performs an internal examination to determine whether her menstrual flow has stopped. If the examination shows that she is clean, she may purify herself by immersing in a mikveh after nightfall. Ideally, the seventh day examination should be performed as close to the end of the day as possible. This Mishnah discusses whether an examination performed earlier than that is effective. A Niddah examined herself in the morning of the seventh day of her Niddah period and found herself to be clean. And towards the end of the day, as twilight approached, she did not examine herself again, as she ideally should have done. Instead, she simply assumed, based on her early examination, that her menstrual period had ended, and immersed herself in a mikveh after nightfall. A few days after immersion, she examined herself again and found blood, indicating that she is Tameh. It is not known, though, when the blood was discharged. The law is that she is presumed to have been clean from the time of her examination until the time she discovered the blood. Thus, any tahor object that she handled after immersion in the mikveh remains tahor. The converse case. She examined herself on the morning of the seventh day and found herself stained with blood. And as twilight approached, she did not examine herself again, relying instead on her own assessment that her bleeding has stopped. She thus immersed herself in a mikveh after nightfall. And sometime after immersion, she examined herself again and found herself to be clean of any bloody discharges. The law is that she is presumed to still be possibly Tameh because there is no evidence that the bleeding stopped on the seventh day. As such, the status of tahor objects that she handled after immersion is in doubt. In the first case, the Mishnah said that if a Niddah performed an examination on the seventh morning and found it to be clean, immersed herself after nightfall, and then discovered blood a few days later, she is presumed to have been clean between her examination and the discovery of the blood, and the objects that she touched after her immersion remain tahor. The Mishnah notes a rabbinic stringency that applies if she handled tahoros. By rabbinic decree, she does make tahoros tameh if she handled them within 24 hours before discovering the blood, or if her most recent clean examination was less than 24 hours before she found blood. Tahoros are tameh if they were handled from the last clean examination until the present examination. If she has a fixed period, however, it is enough for her to make tahoros tameh from the time she discovered the blood. Thus, only foods handled after she discovered blood are tameh, and not those handled before. According to the Tanna Kama, if a woman performs a clean examination on her seventh morning and then immerses herself after nightfall, the immersion is effective and she becomes tahor. The Mishnah now cites a stricter view. Rabbi Yehuda says any woman who did not examine herself from the time of mincha on is presumed to still be possibly tameh, even if she did so earlier in the day, because we are concerned that the bleeding may have started again before the day ended. The most lenient opinion. But the sages say, even if she examined herself on the second morning of her Niddah's period and found herself to be clean, and as twilight approached at the end of the seventh day she did not examine herself, and then after some time has passed she examined herself again and found herself to be tameh, she is presumed to have remained clean in the interim.